Hello and welcome everyone. My name is sysadmin After Dark and this is my home lab. Today we're going to be installing some networking equipment that will boost my servers to 10 gigabit capabilities from 1 gigabit capabilities. I have some GBICs, a couple of cables, and some XL710 10G 4S8X, say that 3 times fast, networking cards that will eventually go in both of my servers. But first, we need to go ahead and pull this first server out of the rack. So let's get started with that. So, real quick, this is my SAN, this is currently my production server, and then this is the host that we're going to be working on. My hope is to get everything staged on this host, transfer everything over from my first host to my secondary host, and then work on my primary host, get everything back online, and then balance out my VMs between these two. Let's go ahead and try pulling this out. I feel like it's going to be a pain in the ass, but I got steel toes on, so at least my toes will be safe. This should just slide right out. Yep. Alright. There we go. And this does not use ready rails, unfortunately. So this whole entire server will come out. Oh, there we go. Pardon me, I'll be right back for you. Alright, so I got the secondary Dell R730 out of the rack. Let's go ahead and pop this open. That is actually surprisingly clean. There's a whole bunch of dust in the air in the server room, so take this out. We want to put this right at bracket number 5. And I don't think we need to do anything special to pull these out. It should just pop right in. It's definitely small enough, but we shall see if it'll cooperate with me. There we are. And just like that, we have a 10 gigabit network card and a Dell R730 at slot number 5, right above all the other network ports that we're not going to use after today. Oh, and this is about the time where I wish I bought the ready rails. And there we go. Alright, next up is to install these 10G branded adapters. These are also 10 gig capable. Oop, wrong way. And we're going to be using 2 for routed data, so that is the VM network. Then 2 for unrouted data, and that's going to be things like live migration and iSCSI. So these 2 will be routed, and then these 2 here will be unrouted data. Now there's just one more thing that we have to do in here before we can move to the computer, and that is to set up the iDRAC interface. The iDRAC interface will allow me to reinstall the operating system as well as change some BIOS settings from the comfort of my chair. So, as you can see, I haven't touched this server since it was at the DRC. This is SAD DRC VMH01. We are going to go ahead and wipe that away. There's nothing running on here. So let's go ahead and hard shut this down. We are going to get into the system settings to change the IP address. And we're going to press F10. Alright, and we are successfully booted into the lifecycle controller. So let's go ahead and go to, oh geez, every time I come in here my brain just frickin' melts. I think it's hardware configuration, configuration wizards, and iDRAC settings. Yep. That's going to take us into the iDRAC settings. So let's go ahead and configure the network. And this has been set up before. I'm not going to get too into how to set up and configure iDRAC. We're really in here just to configure the IP address. This is going to be changed to a .1, and I'm going to change .2 to a .5 because this is actually going to be my new host 1. So let's do the same for the gateway. That's going to be 1. Subnet mask looks fine. Alright, everything looks good in here. So let's click back. Let's click finish. Let's save changes. Alright, with the hardware in place, I think we're ready to get going on the software configuration side of things. So this is a gigabit MikroTik switch that I have been using as my core switch for server uplinks. I have stolen port number 1 for the iDRAC on this new server, and I have already tagged it port 21, if I can find where the hell that is. There we are. And then I also came in here and I checked it as well. Now, since I'm already in here, I want to go ahead and show you guys what I've been experiencing. So this is my main iSCSI uplink, and I'm getting a whole bunch of TX pauses. Supposedly port 9 is also supposed to be an iSCSI uplink, but in my opinion, this has just never worked right, never been set up right. I was in a rush to get things up, so I'm paying for it now. So we're going to fix things, and we're going to set things up right and make sure that this isn't happening, because as it stands right now, this is causing a lot of issues on my network with a lot of weird slowdowns and glitches, especially when I'm transferring large files. So with the tagging in place, I have been able to open up and access iDRAC. Everything in here is already pretty much configured for the most part. I did, however, notice that my iDRAC is a version behind. It is currently at 2.84, I believe, and my BIOS is already up to date, so we're just going to go ahead and update the iDRAC initially, just because I want to make sure that everything is updated before I start putting production on this. So to do that, we're going to go to iDRAC settings, we're going to go to update and rollback, and I've already procured the necessary iDRAC files off of Dell's website. You can download them for free, which is great. I know HP and other server manufacturers put it behind a paywall. Dell makes them free, which is really nice to have, because these servers can be repurposed and updated as securely to be as secure as possible. So this is the whole EXE file. I'm going to go ahead and upload it to the firmware update interface and upload it. All right, and with that fully uploaded, we're going to go ahead and select it and click install. Let's go ahead and view the job queue. And we're back. All right, let's go ahead and try to log in. I just heard the fan spin up, so it might be unsuccessful, but all right, look at our firmware version. It is now 2.85.85.85 from 2.84.84.84. Sweet. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and install, or rather reinstall, VMware ESXi. I currently have 8.0 on here from when it was at the data center, and I went ahead and I downloaded the ISO for 8 update 2. So let's see if we can go ahead and launch the remote console, and let's connect some virtual media. Browse. I'm going to go ahead and click map device, and let's power cycle this. Alright, so that's rebooting. It's going to take us back to the BIOS, and I think it's F11 to boot into the one-time media menu. So let's see here. Alright, let's go with the one-shot UEFI boot menu. And we want to go with the virtual optical drive. And off it goes. Alright, it looks like we're finally ready to install ESXi 8.0.2. So let's go ahead and press enter to continue. And we're going to press F11 to accept. Alright, so we are going to install this on the SanDisk, which is a USB flash drive plugged directly into the server's internal USB slot. We're going to go ahead and install because we want to blow away everything that's on there. And then we're going to press enter to continue. Press enter again. US default is fine. Alright, type in a password, enter to continue. Then it's going to warn us that my server is not officially supported. That's fine, go ahead and continue. And we're going to go ahead and force it. And F11 to install. Alright, and we're back from the other side of this reinstall. So let's go ahead and press F2 and start configuring the system. Ooh, there we go. Alright, so configure management network. So let's do IPv4 configuration. And we're going to set a static IP address. This host is going to be at 10.1.20.5/24. And the gateway is 10.1.20.1. And let's do IPv6 configuration. I always disable it. I know that that's probably going to piss off a whole bunch of people, but I don't do anything with IPv6. Alright. And then let's go ahead and configure primary DNS servers and alternate DNS servers. So that's going to be my domain controllers. So that's going to be 10.1.30.5, 10.1.30.6, and the host name of this is going to be SAD for Sysadmin After Dark, HME because this is my home network, dash VMHOST. Let's make that all capital. And then let's just double check this. I have been known to fat finger things. So it's sad HME vmhost 01.internal.sysadminafterdark.com. Perfect. Then custom DNS suffixes, that's internal.sysadminafterdark.com. Alright, and then it will ask me to reboot. I'm going to go ahead and do so, and then once that comes back up, IPv6 should be disabled and the network should be set properly. Alright, host has rebooted, so let's go ahead and log back into it. Alright, and I'm just going to go ahead and check the management network again, just because after 10 years of being a sysadmin, I have trust issues. So 10.1.20.5/24, 10.1.20.1, that all looks good. IPv6 is disabled. DNS configuration. Why did that truncate? Oh, that's right. I believe with starting at version 8, they truncate the FQDN. And that is correct. Cool. Network adapters. Alright, so this is going to be my primary. This is going to be my secondary. Let's go ahead and approve that. And let's go back. And let's go ahead and restart the management network. Now there's one more thing that we have to do. So 1 and 2. So this is going to be any. This needs to be set to strict. This is going to be VLAN 20. And this is going to be VLAN 20. We're going to go ahead and apply that. We're going to go ahead and scroll down. Oops. That's VLAN 15. So 1 and 2. Apply all. I'm going to go ahead and open up a command prompt here. And it looks like she's paying. So we are now successfully on my first 10 gigabit server. Alright, I think it might be time to go ahead and join this host to vCenter. So let's go ahead and switch tabs. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new data center called sysadmin after dark. So the new data center has been created. I'm also going to create a new folder. This is going to be sad HME. And oh, I hate that. So let's go ahead and add this host. Ah, you know what? I'm forgetting something. We need to create a DNS record for this host. So let's go ahead and log in to my jump box. Let's go ahead and launch DNS Manager. All right. This is sad HME VM host 01 10.1.20.5, and we're going to allow it to create a pointer record as well. And it was successful. And there it is. So let's go ahead and minimize this. This is going to be sad HME VM host 01 and just like that, the server has been added. Alright, now this is where things get a little bit hairy. So we're going to go ahead and add in a distributed switch. So to do that, we're going to go up here to Actions, Distributed Switch, New Distributed Switch, and this is going to be called Prod vSwitch 01. I am using ESXi 8 on all of my hosts, so that's fine. There's going to be 2 physical uplinks, and I do not need the default port group. And we're going to click Finish. And if we go over here, we have our vSwitch, along with the uplinks for said vSwitch. So now we need to add 2 port groups. We need to add host MGMT dport group, number of ports, that is going to be 2. There is no VLAN on this because this is going to be using the native VLAN. And we're going to click Finish. Now we need to add another port group. We're going to call this VM native dport group. Click Next. There's going to be 2. There is no VLAN on this. We are going to add in other VLANs after this. This is just for the VM network on the native host network. I personally don't have any VMs on the native host network, but it's always nice to have just in case I need to move a box over to that network in case I'm troubleshooting something and I don't want to. I want to make sure that the firewall isn't blocking anything. It's just one of those things that are nice to have. We're going to click Next. We're going to click Finish. Going to right click on the vSwitch then. We're going to click Add and Manage Hosts. We're going to add hosts. We're going to select all of our hosts. And then I am using 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's this one and this one. So here's uplink 1 and uplink 2 on that PCI card that we installed earlier. And then these other 2 NICs, those are going to be iSCSI network NICs. So let's click Next. We need to assign a port group. So this is going to be for our management network. We're going to go ahead and click Assign. I'm going to click Next. Migrate virtual machine networks. We don't have any VMs, so that's cool. We are going to click Next. And we are going to click Finish. And there we are. So now, if we go over to Configure, no, I want to click and there we go. So you can see here that host management dport group is now attached to this dport group, and it's using 1 and 2 as the primary network adapters, and then we have our native VLAN also using these 2 adapters as well. Alright, now this is when things get even more crazy. I'm busting out the notes for this. So we are going to set up a couple of new VLANs so we can re-IP this SAN, hopefully without any downtime. If I screw something up, then that's going to spin out the website, and yeah, that's not going to be good. So, iSCSI. That is a switched-only network. You do not route iSCSI traffic because you are going to bottleneck the crap out of it. So, we are going to insert VLAN 161 and 162. Okay. And we are going to go ahead and remove all of the tagged ports because those are not going anywhere. So let's see here. MikroTik, man, I swear to God, you would have thought that they would have a better interface. So, port number 9 is going to be 161. Port number 10 is going to be 162. Port number 11 is going to be 161. And port number 12 is going to be 162. And that is because I have 2 blades in my SAN chassis. And we want to set up what's called multipathing. So, we want each blade to have a path back to each server. And we want each server to have a 161 uplink and a 162 uplink. I hope that I'm explaining this correctly. But yeah, that's basically what we want. And then we also need to configure the host uplinks as well. So this one's going to be 161. So each host is going to have 161. And then each host is going to have a 162. So now let's go back to, so we got to do this here as well. So 9 is going to be 161. 10 is going to be 162. 11 is going to be 161. And 12 is going to be 162. Alright, and then SFP 3 is going to be 161. SFP 4 is going to be 162. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and configure our iSCSI network. So we're going to go here to VM kernel adapters. We're going to click on Add Networking, VM kernel network adapter, new standard switch, and we are going to use VMNIC 6, as our active adapter. This is going to be called iSCSI 01. No VLAN ID because we're going to be using the native VLAN. Click Next. Use static IP address. The IP address of this is going to be 172.16.1.5. And the subnet mask, this is going to be a /24, so it's going to be a 255.255.255.0. Then I go ahead and click Next, and then Finish. Alright, so now we have an iSCSI 1 adapter. Now we're going to go over here to Network, Distributed Switch, New Distributed Switch. We're going to call this iSCSI 01-D switch. Click Next. Next. We're going to only have one adapter on this. We do not need the default port group. Next, and then Finish. Then we're going to go here, Add and Manage Hosts. We're going to add a host. I'm going to select our default host. VMNIC 6 is going to be our uplink. And then VMK2 is going to be our VM kernel adapter. Alrighty, and then I already have a terminal pulled up here. So, see if this is going to ping properly for us. .1. Alright, and as you can see here, it is pinging. So now if I go back here to virtual switches, alright, and that error should go away. And then this surrogate switch that we added in earlier, I don't know why VMware makes you do that. It's the stupidest thing ever. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. I probably am. I'm just going to go ahead and blow this away. So let's go back over here. Ping 172.16.1.5. We can ping that. And then the other one is 2.5. We can ping that as well. And off screen, I also configured one of the iSCSI NICs on the SAN. We're going to do that next together, but I just want to make sure that this still pings. So that is 1.241. That pings okay. And I'm wondering if .2 pings. I don't know if I set that up yet. I did set that up. So, in theory, yeah, so it is the secondary connection that I need to set up. So, let's go ahead and do that now. So, I am using a Infotron SAN. It is a DS3000, I believe. It's 200 terabytes of capacity. It's pretty slick. It's a little bit weird in here. This video isn't going to go into the UI. I found that there's not a lot of content out here on this particular SAN, so I'll probably make a video later on the ins and outs of this because these things go pretty cheaply on the bay. So we're going to go ahead and go to, I believe it's channels, and don't need that. That's where you configure if you want fiber or if you want iSCSI over 10 gig TCP/IP. Yes, this is what I want. So channel 0 and channel 1 are currently my connections that are running to the original server. These are copper 1 gigabit connections, and I believe it's channel 4 is the one that I set up off screen that is running at 10 gig. Then channel 5 is the secondary one that I need to configure. So let's go ahead and set this to static, and this is going to be 172.16.1.242. This is going to be .2.242. And there's not going to be a gateway on this network because we don't want to route that iSCSI traffic. Going to click OK. Going to say yes, we want to apply that. Alright, so we have channel 4 and channel 5 configured. So let's go ahead and try pinging that again. And it's very possible that I messed up my tagging. I actually had to go in there and unscrew some stuff up, so these two ports are, or should be, ports 11 and 12. So let's go ahead and look at that switch. So, so it looks like, so if you rewind the video a little bit, maybe I'll put a still here. It said that it takes a little while. Popped up a message box saying that it takes a little while to set those settings. So 172.16.1.242, that is now pinging. What about 2242? Yes. Okay, so now let's see if all of these ping in order. So VM host 01, that's going to be 172.16.1.5. Oops. In my defense, it's 1 o'clock here right now. So that pings. And let's see, 2.5. That pings. And let's change this. So 241. That pings. That pings. That pings. And that pings. So, all my tagging is correct. And that means that both blades, as well as the server, has connectivity to each other. So we should be able to go up here to storage adapters, add a software adapter, add an iSCSI adapter. Alright. So let's go ahead and do a scan for storage. I see. So it looks like we got to bind these. And that makes sense because it needs to know which NIC to use. All right. Alright, so there's the enclosure. And there is the lens. Okay, cool. So now if I go to data stores, hey, there they are. Cool. Alright, so let's get something running, see what happens. There we go. And we need to add a VLAN to that port group in order for it to boot up. So I'm just going to call this production 30. 30 is being the VLAN at that point. So all right. And I believe I also need to go back here and 30 needs to be tagged. So let's go back here. Let us click edit settings. And then let's boot it, see if it gets a network connection. And looks like we have a network connection. Can you guys believe how I looked by the end of that video? I was a walking zombie. I think I went to bed probably around 3 o'clock in the morning that night. Now, we are on day 2 of this project, and I'm just getting ready to wrap this video up because it's gone on for long enough. There's a couple of things that I've done off camera to improve the stability of the VMware environment that I want to go over with you. Just because if you're following along with me, you're going to want to do this. First and foremost is setting up MPIO. So you're going to go to your vSphere console, you're going to click on storage, and you'll see here that I have 2 data stores here, DS1 and DS2. You'll then go to connectivity and multipathing, and you'll see a list of your hosts. You want to click on one, you want to go to actions, edit multipathing, and you want to change path selection policy from most recently used to round robin. And you want to do that for each data store and each host. Secondly, you want to set up NTP time sync with your domain controllers. Go back here to your console, click on a host, go to time configuration, and you'll see here that I'm already syncing the time on the host with my two domain controllers. The last thing that I want to mention is that I've already added my secondary host into the data center. The steps that I've demonstrated earlier are the same steps that you'll use to add a second, third, fourth, or fifth host into the data center. I've also split my virtual machines between the two and added a little bit more RAM to the virtual machines now that I have more breathing room to play with. There's still a lot to do with this environment to get it polished up and matured, but I think we've succeeded in what we've set out to do. Thank you very much for joining me, and have a good evening. Bye.